Right, boys, hello and welcome back to another video. What I'm taking you through today is how I generated $5,112.91 completely passively in just 24 hours with one client, or one creator, should I say, as you know, running the business model OFM. So it was with One OnlyFans Model. We was able to generate these results. And as per usual, I'm Mason. I run a six-figure per month OnlyFans management agency. I've shown proof in previous videos. Here you actually have the screenshot of that generation, and yes, I've put gross, obviously net, we netted around 4k. This is just to prove that this amount of money can be generated almost completely passively. Obviously we put the work in first, which I'm going to be taking you through in this video, but that is the actual amount that was generated. Obviously OnlyFans take their fee, the little bastards. Let me try and drag this down so you can see. I don't know if this is going to come up, but if you can see, yep, this is actually on the live account. Easy as. So, welcome back. Mason, six-figure month agency owner, and that is why obviously you should listen to me. If you want to find me on other platforms, Mr. Money Mason on Twitter, Mason100, that's double N, Mason100 on Instagram. Obviously you've got my YouTube here, TikTok, etc. It's all going to be linked below. Again, you've got my Telegram down below there, which is where I'm going to be able to show you a lot of interpersonal or my life, exactly up-to-date game on OFM, so tap in there if you want to see what's going on. Again, obviously you can hit me up if you want closer guidance with getting scaled up in your specific OFM. So let's get straight into the video. Been waffling already too much. So how this actually happened. So obviously I'm working in a business model that allows that to happen. Obviously you can't just generate 5k in 24 hours with just one client passively if you're not working in the right business model. It just simply doesn't make sense. So obviously I'm working in OFM, OnlyFans management agency, and that's actually how I'm able to get access to do so. I put the work in on building out the correct systems in order for this to take place. So by the way, this is the summary of the whole video. This is the points that I'm going to be going in and detailing. So make sure to stay tuned if some of these are more that you want to hear more about, a lot more detail for me to explain how it's genuinely possible for you to go ahead and do the same. So I put the work in on building out the correct systems in order for this to take place, so what are those systems? Outreach systems in order to even get the client who was able to make this possible. Marketing systems in order so that we have the traffic to her account in order to make this possible. The sales, how I built out the sales team in order to sell on this account to make this possible. And then it's letting the machine run. So once you build out all these steps, step by step, and set things up over a long enough period of time. Remember, this didn't happen overnight. I didn't start this yesterday. I've been in the game over 1.5 years. So it's only right that I obviously start reaping the rewards of my labour that I put in year behind me now. So just give you a little brief overview. Of course, it's not going to work. So this is what we're going to be getting into today. I'm just going to be discussing each of these points in detail. So make sure you're taking notes, and as always, jotting down any questions you want me to get back to. So working a business model that allowed this to happen. So let's get right into this one here. So OFM. And a lot of you, maybe if you're new to this or you just want to work out how to make some passive income, what is OFM? Essentially, management of an OnlyFans model's account on that platform and her social medias in order to grow her earnings from what they was before to maybe 3, 5, 10, 15, 30x I've even achieved on some accounts, maybe even more. So just growing them earnings because you're able to come in and help with social media strategies, which will help with getting the traffic to her account. There's more people to sell to. You're going to optimize the sales on the back end so that when you are now selling to these people, they're going to be able to spend a lot more money. You have to take a lot more cash from them. Therefore, her earnings are going to go up. And you're going to take all this management on for a percentage fee. Agency or typical industry fees only between 50-60% because you'll be taking on all the workload. Their sole role in this is going to rely on the content creation. You're going to be the brains behind it. You're going to be putting in all the strategies. So that's a little rundown of what OFM is. How I actually got into OFM, I kind of fell into it, if I'm honest. So it was a side hustle. Well, obviously I'm young, hungry, wanted to be an entrepreneur back like 20 years old. Even between 18 and 20, I was trying different things, Forex, etc. And then my friend come to me and he'd learned about this business model called OFM. He was just part of a private network. He paid to be inside it. And this was one of the side hustles there. So he come back and he said, oh my God, there's this thing called OFM. People are making thousands of pounds every month. We've got to try it. Let's go all in. So I'm like, all right, cool. And it was ever since then. I think this was around October 2022, September, October, wherever the months go, November, September, October, around this time, 2022. basically late 2022, and we got into it and we started like exploring it, doing loads of research on YouTube. There wasn't much information really about this time, or like good information at least anyway. A lot of like courses were flying around, but they was all very rubbish. Like nothing was built out to the level of detail that can be now, or that we've built out to for us helping those in this industry. That's how I got into it. My friend said, look, there's other guys making big cash. I think it's possible for us. Let's give it a little try at least. And then we actually saw some success quite early on. So that's why we doubled down, and that's how we got into it, and that's how we got flourishing in it. Because of the insane amount of work we was putting in at the start. Like we wasn't just giving it a little go, like, oh, I'll try some shit. No, it was hammering it. It was making sure we gave it a good, viable go to make sure it either worked or it didn't before we scrapped it and moved on to something else. And thank God we didn't scrap it. Thank God we doubled down, because look at our lives now. Obviously running a big agency and reaping the rewards, financial, location freedom, healthy, being able to do what we want, all the things that go with it. And so how can you get into OFM? Right, so you've got two routes here. You can either go and obviously look at all my information on YouTube. I've put a bunch of information out here. You can go and check out the vast majority of the information all over YouTube. Like it's not just me, there's other people who obviously teach. I can't vouch for anyone else's teachings, I don't know. Obviously I don't really learn from anyone else. I'm pretty established in the game, so I understand what it is that I need to do. And you can go and sift through all this information online, free groups and stuff like this, and yeah, it's going to maybe take you a little while. Took us a shorter time, but I had a good network in the industry from being part of this private network, paying to get access to the information, to the people that was required in order for me to scale. Or you can take the easy route. I have a private group and network called OF Money, and in there we give you a full A to Z course breakdown on exactly how you can start OFM. Basically, all the shortcuts, all the mistakes that I made are just ironed out, exactly what you need to do in order to scale up the fastest. You also get access to the private network of over 200 plus members who are all printing off this business model. So it's not just me who makes cash in this industry, so very proven method and strategy in order to put the work in so you can go ahead and get started in OFM as well. Obviously that's a fee, but you circumvent all that time that you're going to essentially put into the game, trial and error, trying to figure things out and wasting time, whereas you can make, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 times, maybe even 10 times the progress in that shorter time frame, that 1 to 2, maybe 3 month period, scaling up to your first 10K a month, scaling up to your first, 100K a month. In that time period, with just knowing what to do and being able to implement the right actions more consistently early on. So the choice then obviously remains yours. If that is something that does interest you, go through my Telegram link below and drop me a message there. Easiest way to get at me. So, right, that's a little bit about OFM, general overview, working in the business model that allows this to happen. And obviously you want to get into the real bulk of how I was able to generate this now. So putting the work in, understanding that it was not always like this. So when I started out, okay, right, a little bit more before we get into the actual diehard of how I was able to do it, getting into these parts here. But essentially you need all of these to build up, because you've got to understand how I got to this point. I don't just get to the 5K a month and just, boom, this is what you do. Like, you need to understand how I built up to that, because you want to sort of learn some of these lessons along the way so you can almost cut them down, and then you can get to this straight point at the end, but you need to understand the journey first. It wasn't always like this, right? I don't generate 5K from one client every single, well, this client does exceptionally well. However, it's not consistent with OnlyFans in terms of like every single day it's 5K on these accounts. So it was not always like this, especially back in the day when I was still scaling up and learning what to do. Maybe it was like $5 a day. I wasn't good to start with, right? So it wasn't always like this. Some days I would have days where sales were extremely slow and I wasn't making much money. But like I say, you build up, what work was I doing? I was researching social media platforms, understanding what's going viral with OnlyFans models in these niches, different creators about how they're scaling up, how I can take an approach with my models, looks, their personality types, what they have available to them, niching them, all this type of stuff. So doing a bunch of research and like studying the game. So that's kind of the work I was doing at the start. And then as you begin to grow, you begin to do a lot more trial and error testing with the models and understanding what works specifically for them. So here you go with the trial and error. So I might have one model who's super hot blonde. She can do office niche, for example. So we're going to hire out some offices, shoot some content, and all of a sudden her social media profile on Instagram, for example, is going to start blowing up. Apologies if I talk too fast. I like to get my points across quickly and move on swiftly. So trial and error, a few different things. Maybe I have a busty brunette and maybe she's got a flat ass. I'm not going to focus on that feature of her. So you've got to understand that's maybe some trial and error where you might go try to do gym niche or something, and it's not going to work out because it doesn't essentially make sense to match her body type. So a bunch of different trial and error to start out with. I'm trying different things for social media marketing, trying different things for sales. I'm also networking heavy at this point. I'm speaking with a lot of people in the industry, understanding what they do, trading information about what I do, getting laughed at because of what I do at this point. But essentially just working around the clock, you know, trying to figure out what it is on the actual system that makes cash in OFM. So how you can obviously avoid the trial and error that I went through is essentially dropping me a message below and being part of the OF Money private group, of course, if that's something that appeals to you. If obviously you value your time, it's something that I'm probably going to see you in my DMs about. What you can do. And essentially I kind of covered these up here. You've got a couple of routes that you can take in order to go and scale up. So understand it wasn't always like this for me. I obviously built up to be able to get to this point here. But now I'm at this point, and this is how I was able to generate that pretty passively. So that was the 7th of July. That was Sunday. That just happened. And so what are those systems that allowed me to get to this point here? On the 7th of July, I didn't have to jump into any marketing myself personally. I didn't have to jump on the chats and make any sales. I didn't have to sign a client specifically that day as such. So the 3 systems I set up was outreach. First things first, you need the client in order to be able to make the money. Okay, so at this point here in the video, if you've got to here, this is where the real source is going to be taking place. So congratulations to you. So at this point here is where you're building up your outreach. So you might have an agency page, you might have a good looking personal page, and you can also curate these personal pages to look even better than they are, get some lifestyle pictures, and you can have VAs on these accounts doing manual outreach. You can have them doing manual outreach from a girls account, your models page. You can automate these processes. So I was able to put that system in place. So I have models coming through the door on auto churn because there's constant outreach going out. On top of this, you can have people like in the field, like referrals. So I have a bunch of referrals. Obviously, I moved up to Manchester. I have a lot of connections here now. I've built up a little bit of a name for myself. Being able to, speak to people saying, look, if you can bring me a model, give you a percentage referral fee, and they're then incentivized or inclined to do so. Now I have a bunch of referrals bring me models, so I can pick. So now I've got more models coming into my agency. I can pick the best pick of the bunch and go on to scale with them. And what do you look for in a good model? Hardworking, better if she's cute, but it's not super essential. Hardworking is the main thing, because if you're not getting this content, you're not able to distribute it, you're not able to go back and do revisions of the content, then you're just not going to be able to get anywhere. It's going to be more of a detriment to you. Especially starting out. This is what we're going to train people for. Marketing. So marketing systems that allow me to do this. We figured out a way that obviously we can batch make reels, like I say, with hiring out, say for example, an office or something, go in and batch making up these reels, make 50 to 100 reels per time, and then I can then put that into a drive, organize it, give it to a poster, the poster can then post it. So the only manual work I've really done there is the half a day's work in going to record these reels. I have a VA who goes on and finds all of the content to actually make up, all of the viral videos inside of that niche. So it was literally a case of just turning up, record the reels, boom, that's done. They're going to get posted out by the posters on different accounts. The accounts that are then obviously blowing up are bringing subscribers to the page. With Reddit and Twitter, we have a VA on them who's been trained over the last, God knows, year and a half. Who's been with us, who's an absolute beast in them social media as well, who's then able to also manage a team of other VAs who are able to then do the posting on Reddit, the content repurposing, the posting out on Twitter, the comment replies, even finding pages to run promo on. So a bunch of different marketing techniques that we're able to implement with this model at a high scale. So there's a bunch of subscribers coming in all ready to be sold to, and then the sales system and team. So we was able to we understood early on in the chats, like you've got to get a chatter on, you need to leverage your time back, and that's how you really start scaling as a business in OFM. So we had some chatters on, we had a team around the clock, but they still need to be managed. And then we had a few accounts, so we had multiple teams of VAs, obviously we have multiple big accounts that need their own set of VAs dedicated to them round the clock, 24 hours a day. So we understood that if we're also in the business, then having to manage all of these, the business runs 24/7. So it takes up a lot of your time if you want to be managing every person on shift, seeing what went wrong at maybe 1 a.m. and then seeing what went wrong again maybe at 7 a.m. And it's just VAs, like this stuff's always gonna happen. You pay for cheaper labor, not everything's super smooth sailing. Even I would make a mistake now and my friend would have to pull me up for it. So, the problems just happen in business and you have to be constantly on top of them. So sales. So then around a year ago, one of our other friends in another industry said, you need to get off these chats. You need another hierarchical structure in place in order to outsource this part of the system as well. So then obviously we had a chat manager role coming available, and our best chatters, we upgraded them. We put a new team in place, and now we have 24/7 surveillance at these people who are like the highly trained, highly skilled, been with us for the longest, spent the most time in training them up how to be a manager as well, so different aspects of the role, and now they just manage everything. All these chats are running smoothly the entire time. So for example, that's how I didn't even have to lift a finger on Sunday. It was all taken care of by the managers, and then they just send me a report end of the day on what's going on. Any problems, any direct problems, they can obviously deal with me, but there weren't many problems on this day that they couldn't deal with. They've been trained up to be able to deal with them. So that is a very brief overview on how I was able to generate $5,112.91 in just 24 hours with one creator. Bear in mind, we've got like 10 creators signed to us right now, many more that we chat for as well, simply who can already run traffic. So you can kind of see the scale on how much on a daily revenue you can generate or what's genuinely possible. So if you have any questions, like I say, but look, get out my free Telegram, drop me a message. I'm always here to help out and help people scale up in this industry because it's really some of the easiest money you can make. And I don't say that lightly in terms of it's just going to happen overnight. Look, I'm 1.5 years into the game. It wasn't an overnight thing. When I started out, yes, it was hard, it was grinding, but you have to go through that with any industry. So why not do one that's going to reward you down the line, a year down the line, where you can generate this type of money passively? And obviously, that was a Sunday, was slightly more offline. I was still around, I was still working on other projects. It wasn't like I was just doing nothing because the poverty line is going to run and catch up with me, if not. However, like I was saying, we was able to let that machine run. We built it up as a system, and we can just work on the optimizations on top of that. So it's about building the business, and at the start I was building a lot, right? And now we've kind of come out at the top of it. I'm able to talk to you and relay my story and give you that sort of bit of a more general overview on the steps that you can take in order to get up to this point here today. That's what you should all be aiming for. That's the beauty of life. That's the beauty of business, and it's available to everyone. Just got to put that work in to start with, and you'll achieve it one day, no doubt. But as always, you know where to get at me. It's been Money Mace. Thankful for you tapping in, and drop me any comments below on anything that you want to see more from me, and I'm happy to break it down in as much detail as possible. It's been Money Mace. Goodbye.